What if everything you've been taught about how the universe works has been keeping you trapped in suffering? Think about it for a moment. You've learned about gravity, about cause and effect, about the law of attraction, about karma. You've studied these principles, maybe even applied them in your life, trying to manifest your desires, trying to understand why things happen the way they do. But what if all of these so-called fundamental laws are nothing more than shadows on the wall of Plato's cave, mere reflections of something far more profound, far more powerful, far more real? Carl Jung spent decades diving into the deepest recesses of the human psyche, exploring dreams, archetypes, and the collective unconscious. But what he discovered went far beyond psychology. What he found was the source code of reality itself, and it wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a complex mathematical equation, it wasn't a set of rigid commandments, and it certainly wasn't the cold, mechanical universe that modern science often portrays. What Jung uncovered was something that will challenge everything you think you know about existence. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's where things get absolutely mind-bending. Has this ever happened to you? You try to control a situation, you strategize, you plan, you push with all your might to make something happen, and yet somehow, the harder you try, the worse things become. Or perhaps you've experienced those moments when you simply let go, when you stopped forcing and started flowing, and suddenly everything fell into place, effortlessly, almost miraculously. Why does this happen? What's the invisible force at work here? Jung discovered that we've been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of reality. Every problem you face, every moment of suffering you endure, every pain that grips your heart exists because you've been swimming against a current you can't even see. Imagine trying to swim upstream in a river while wearing a blindfold, exhausting yourself, wondering why progress is so impossibly hard. That's what most of us are doing every single day of our lives. The truth Jung uncovered wasn't found in ancient texts or religious doctrines, though they all pointed toward it. He found it by accessing the deepest layers of consciousness thousands upon thousands of times, and what he consistently encountered there wasn't judgment, wasn't punishment, wasn't a cosmic accountant tallying up your good deeds and bad deeds. What he found was something so simple, so obvious, yet so completely overlooked that it revolutionizes everything once you truly understand it. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might not only surprise you, it might completely transform how you experience every single moment of your existence. The force Jung identified isn't just another concept to add to your spiritual toolkit. It's the literal fabric that weaves reality together, and once you learn to align with it instead of resist it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation, because what Jung discovered fundamentally changes the game of existence itself. When you truly align with this force, something extraordinary happens. Reality doesn't just shift slightly, it reorganizes completely around you. Problems that seemed insurmountable simply dissolve, not because you solve them with more effort or better strategies, but because the very foundation of those problems ceases to exist. Life stops being this constant uphill battle and transforms into something that feels more like a dance, where you're moving with the music rather than fighting against it. Here's the hidden truth that most spiritual teachings and scientific frameworks completely miss. Jung expected to find complexity. As a man trained in rigorous analytical thinking, he anticipated discovering multiple forces, various laws, intricate cosmic machinery with countless moving parts keeping reality in balance. But the journey into the depths of consciousness revealed something that turned his entire worldview inside out. There wasn't a pantheon of laws governing different aspects of existence. There was only one singular force, one unified presence that expresses itself through everything you see, touch, experience, and are. You can call this force God, if that resonates with you. You can call it love, though not the romantic, conditional love we're culturally conditioned to understand. You can call it life force, source energy, or consciousness itself. The name doesn't matter because these are all pointing to the same fundamental reality. What matters is understanding that everything appearing as a separate law, every principle you've learned about how the universe operates, is actually this one force interacting with awareness at different frequencies, different levels of resistance or acceptance. This is where the transformation in your mindset begins, where the impact of this understanding starts to ripple through your entire perception. Gravity, that force pulling you toward the earth right now, isn't separate from love. It's love expressing itself as attraction between masses, the same principle that draws souls together, that creates connection and relationship. Electromagnetism, the invisible force binding atoms into molecules, molecules into matter, matter into the world around you. That's love creating cohesion at the most fundamental level of physical reality. If you're drawn to content that goes beyond the surface and explores the deeper truths of existence, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. This is where we dive into the insights that actually transform how you experience reality. Even entropy, that tendency toward chaos that seems to contradict everything about order and meaning, even that is love in disguise. It's the breaking down of artificial separation, the dissolution of false boundaries, the ultimate return to unity. What Jung realized, what this revelation brings to light, is that love isn't something the divine does as an action among many actions. Love is what the divine is. It's the substance, the essence, the fundamental nature of existence itself. And if everything is made of this substance, if you and I and the stars and the space between the stars are all expressions of this one force, then every decision you make, every thought you think, every emotion you feel is either flowing with this current or attempting to swim against it. Write in the comments, I'm ready to align, if this is starting to click for you, if you're beginning to see the hidden patterns that have been there all along, because what we're about to explore next will show you exactly how this changes everything about the way you navigate your daily existence, how it transforms suffering into understanding. Now here's where this understanding moves from abstract philosophy into practical reality, into something you can actually observe and verify in your own experience. When Jung presented this idea that love is the fundamental force, the skeptics immediately challenged him. How can you measure love? How can something so intangible, so subjective, be compared to gravity or electromagnetism, forces we can quantify and predict? His response reveals the brilliance of this whole framework and shows you exactly how to recognize whether you're aligned with this force or resisting it. You measure love's presence, Jung explained, by looking at what emerges in its wake. Where love flows freely, you find life flourishing. You see growth happening naturally, connections deepening authentically, harmony arising without force. Where love is blocked or absent, you witness the opposite: decay, deterioration, separation, discord, a kind of spiritual and emotional death. Every scientific principle you've ever studied is actually love filtering through different dimensions of reality, creating patterns we've labeled as separate laws, but are really just variations of the same fundamental melody. This transformation in understanding completely reframes how you interpret your experiences. Take karma. For instance, You've probably heard about cause and effect, about how what goes around comes around, maybe even feared it as some cosmic system of punishment tallying your mistakes. But that's not what's actually happening behind the scenes. Karma isn't a separate universal law. It's love ensuring that every action experiences its complete circle, that every energy you put out returns to teach you, to show you the impact of your choices. When you hurt someone, when you act from separation and fear, the pain inevitably circles back to you. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because it's educating you. It's showing you, through direct experience, that there's really only one of us here, wearing different faces, living different stories. This revelation shifts everything about how you approach relationships and decisions. The so-called law of attraction that's become so popular in recent years, that too isn't separate. It's love's magnetism at work, drawing resonance to resonance, matching frequency to frequency. But here's the crucial distinction that most people completely miss in their manifestation journey. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Love doesn't organize reality based on your desires or your vision boards or your affirmations. Love organizes by harmony, by vibrational alignment, by the actual frequency you're emanating, not the frequency you think you're emanating or wish you were emanating. This is why forcing outcomes never works. Why manipulation always backfires, why you can't think your way into a reality that your being fundamentally contradicts. The truth, operating beneath all your strategies and techniques, is that love is constantly arranging reality to match your internal state, bringing you exactly what harmonizes with who you're actually being in each moment. Drop a comment saying, "I see it now," if you're recognizing how this plays out in your own life, how the patterns you've experienced suddenly make sense through this lens, because what comes next reveals why resistance to this force creates every form of suffering you've ever known. Now, watch what happens when you start observing nature through this lens, when you begin seeing the hidden patterns that have been operating right in front of you all along. Every living thing, without exception, grows toward light. A seed buried in darkness doesn't debate whether to reach upward. A flower doesn't question whether to turn its face toward the sun. This isn't conscious choice in the way we typically understand it. This is love seeking itself, expanding itself, knowing itself through infinite forms. The plant doesn't grow itself through willpower or positive thinking. Love grows it. The impulse toward more life, toward greater expression, toward fuller manifestation, that's the fundamental force acting through every cell, every organism, every consciousness. This revelation completely transforms how you understand your own journey and the struggles you face. Because here's the part that might challenge everything you thought you knew about good and evil, light and darkness. Jung discovered something that initially shocked even him. There is no actual opposite to love. What we call evil, what we label as darkness, what we experience as hatred, fear, greed, violence, these aren't separate forces battling against love. They're love itself, distorted, resisted, turned against itself. Hatred is love frustrated, unable to flow, backed up like a river hitting a dam. Fear is love contracted, pulled inward, protecting itself from imagined threats. Greed is love misdirected, seeking fulfillment in accumulation rather than connection. Violence is love exploded, bursting forth destructively when it can't express constructively. This understanding has profound implications for how you approach the shadow aspects of yourself and others. You're not fighting against some external evil force. You're witnessing love in various states of distortion, and the path forward isn't war, it's recognition and realignment. When you see someone acting from hatred, you're seeing someone who has forgotten how to let love flow through them. When you experience your own fear, you're experiencing your own love contracted and defensive. The transformation happens not through battling these states, but through remembering what they actually are beneath the surface distortion. But let's go deeper into the mechanics of why this matters so much in your daily reality. Love operates as the cohesive force holding everything together. It's literally what prevents atoms from flying apart, what keeps planets in their orbits rather than careening into the void, what binds families and communities and souls together across time and space. Without this force actively holding reality in a coherent pattern, everything would dissolve into absolute chaos in an instant. Love is the fundamental yes to existence, the force that chooses connection over separation, integration over disintegration, together over apart. Think about the impact this has on every decision you make, every relationship you navigate, every challenge you face. When you choose separation, when you build walls, when you operate from the mindset that you're fundamentally alone and must protect yourself against a hostile universe, you're literally working against the force that holds galaxies together. Write in the comments, love is the glue, if this is reshaping how you see the fabric of your reality, because what we're about to explore reveals why suffering exists and how it's actually trying to guide you back. Now here's where this understanding becomes almost overwhelming in its elegance and precision. Love isn't just this binding force holding things together. It's intelligence itself, conscious and knowing. Think about what's happening inside your body right this moment. Cells are organizing themselves into organs. Organs are coordinating into systems. Systems are functioning as a unified whole that breathes, thinks, feels, and exists. You didn't learn how to do this. You don't consciously direct your liver to filter toxins or command your heart to beat. Love is the intelligence orchestrating this incomprehensibly complex symphony without you lifting a mental finger. This same intelligence turns a tiny seed into a towering tree, transforms a single fertilized cell into a complete human being with thoughts and dreams, and the capacity to contemplate its own existence. Love is what converts potential into actuality, what takes the invisible blueprint and manifests it into tangible form. And here's the crucial insight that changes everything about how you approach your own transformation and growth. This intelligence knows exactly what it's doing. It's not random. It's not chaotic. It's infinitely more sophisticated than any strategy your thinking mind could devise. But love has one characteristic that explains almost everything about existence, about why the universe is the way it is, about why you feel compelled toward certain paths and decisions. Love cannot not create. It must express, must generate, must bring forth. This isn't optional. This is love's fundamental nature. It's why isolation feels like death, while connection feels like life. It's why the universe doesn't contract into a single point, but expands constantly, perpetually creating new space, new stars, new possibilities. Love cannot contain itself. It overflows by its very essence. This revelation illuminates so much about human suffering and well-being. What you call depression, what manifests as that heavy, dark emptiness where nothing feels meaningful or worthwhile, that's love deficiency. Not because you lack love externally, but because something inside you is blocking love's natural creative flow through you. Healing, then, isn't about adding something you don't have. It's about removing whatever obstructs love's expression, clearing the channel so the river can flow again. And here's the truth that will completely reframe every painful experience you've ever had. You cannot actually violate the law of love. You can attempt to, you can think you are. You can act as if you are, but it's literally impossible. What you can do is move against love's current. And that movement, that resistance, is what creates suffering. Every ache, every pain, every moment of anguish is the sensation of swimming against the fundamental flow of existence. The discomfort isn't punishment from some external judge. It's feedback. It's the universe saying, through the only language your body understands, wrong direction, different path needed, turn around. Put in the comments, suffering is guidance, if you're seeing how pain has actually been pointing you toward alignment all along, because what's coming next reveals the practical application of this understanding in ways that will transform how you navigate every single day. Now, let's trace this principle through every dimension of your experience, because once you see it, you'll recognize it operating everywhere. Every form of suffering, whether it shows up in your body, your emotions, or your mind, can be traced back to resistance to this fundamental force. Physical illness isn't random bad luck or just genetic fate. It's your body manifesting in matter what's been blocked in consciousness. Where love has been restricted, where you've refused to let it flow through some part of your experience or some aspect of yourself, that's where disease appears. And notice the word itself. Disease, dis-ease. The absence of ease that comes from flowing with rather than against love's natural current. Emotional pain operates the same way. It's your heart's reaction to love withheld, love made conditional, love denied either to yourself or from yourself to others. Mental anguish, that endless loop of anxious thoughts and torturous overthinking, that's your mind trying desperately to think its way out of problems that only love can solve. You can't analyze your way to peace. You can't strategize your way to wholeness. These are issues of flow, not problems of logic. Jung documented something extraordinary in his work that reveals the hidden truth behind many illnesses. He worked with a woman suffering from cancer, and through deep exploration of her psyche, discovered something profound operating behind the scenes of her physical condition. Her cancer was directly linked to her absolute inability to forgive her mother. The hatred she carried wasn't just an emotional burden, it was literally consuming her from the inside out. Hatred, remember, is love turned cannibalistic, devouring the host instead of nourishing it. The very energy that should have been flowing outward as creative life force had turned inward as destructive death force. This transformation in understanding changes everything about how you approach healing and well-being. You're not broken and needing to be fixed. You're blocked and needing to be opened. And here's the revelation that lifts the weight off your shoulders. You don't have to generate love. You don't have to manufacture it through affirmations or positive thinking or spiritual practices. Love is what you already are. It's your natural state, your default setting, your fundamental essence. Everything else, all the fear and hatred and separation, that's the effort. That's the work. That's what requires constant energy to maintain. The journey back to yourself begins with self-love, but not the narcissistic self-obsession that culture often promotes. True self-love is recognizing the divine within you, understanding that you're literally made of the same substance as the force that creates galaxies. You're not some random accident in an indifferent universe. You're love-taking form, consciousness experiencing itself through your unique perspective and story. Drop a comment saying, "I am love," if you're starting to feel the shift in how you see yourself, because what we're exploring next reveals how this understanding dissolves the illusion of separation and shows you the profound truth about everyone you encounter. Now, here's where this understanding becomes truly revolutionary in how you navigate relationships and see the world around you. When you extend love to another person, you're not actually loving a separate being. You're loving the same consciousness that you are, just wearing a different costume, playing a different role in this grand theater of existence. When you love another, What's really happening is the universe loving itself through the temporary illusion of separation. There's only one of us here, Jung discovered, playing all the parts, experiencing itself through infinite perspectives and stories. This isn't just beautiful poetry or mystical philosophy. This is the hidden truth operating behind every interaction you have. When you argue with someone, you're literally arguing with yourself in another form. When you help someone, you're helping yourself wearing different clothes. The impact of truly understanding this cannot be overstated, because it dissolves the fundamental premise that keeps you trapped in conflict and isolation. The separation you experience is real as an experience, but it's not real as ultimate truth. It's a necessary illusion that allows consciousness to know itself through relationship and contrast. But here's where people often get stuck, where the practical application seems impossible. What about people who seem genuinely unlovable? What about those who hurt others, who embody cruelty, who appear completely disconnected from anything resembling love or goodness? Jung's response reveals a crucial distinction in how you can navigate this. You love the divine within them while clearly recognizing their distortion. You don't have to like someone's personality. You don't have to approve their actions or enable their destructive behavior. You can establish boundaries, you can choose not to engage, you can even actively oppose what they're doing. But beneath all of that, you can still love their essence, the fundamental consciousness that's temporarily lost in confusion and pain. Love the soul, not the sickness. Love what they truly are, not what they're currently manifesting. This mindset shift transforms how you carry yourself through difficult relationships and challenging encounters. You're no longer caught in the exhausting dance of hatred meeting hatred, fear meeting fear. You can see through the surface distortion to the truth underneath, and that vision changes everything about your response and your energy. And here's something Jung demonstrated repeatedly in his therapeutic work that modern medicine is only beginning to acknowledge. Love is the most powerful healing force in existence, not metaphorically, literally. When you consciously direct love toward disease, whether in yourself or others, you're applying the fundamental creative force of the universe directly to discord. Love doesn't just make you feel better emotionally while the physical problem remains unchanged. Love actively reorganizes chaos back into harmony, remembers the perfect pattern and restores it, speaks the language that cells and organs and systems understand at the deepest level. Write in the comments, "We are one," if you're feeling the profound shift in how you see other people and yourself, because what comes next reveals the practical daily application that turns this understanding into lived transformation. Now let's address something crucial that often gets misunderstood when people first encounter this truth about love being the fundamental force. Many assume that if love is the answer, it must always be gentle, always soft, always saying yes to everything. But Jung revealed something deeper, operating behind the scenes of genuine love. Real love isn't always comfortable. Sometimes love says no. Sometimes love establishes firm boundaries. Sometimes love appears harsh in the moment because it sees the bigger picture that you can't see yet from your limited vantage point. Think about a parent who disciplines a child, refusing to give them something harmful, even though the child desperately wants it. That's love in action, but it doesn't feel loving to the child in that moment. It requires tremendous courage to appear unloving when you know you're serving someone's highest good. This is the hidden wisdom that transforms how you approach difficult decisions and challenging relationships. Love knows what you need, not just what you want. And what you need often involves growth, which means discomfort, which means encountering resistance and working through it. This understanding extends even to the ultimate transformation we all face, death itself. Jung's exploration of consciousness revealed that death isn't the end or the tragedy. We've been conditioned to fear. Death is simply consciousness returning to love without the filter of physical form, like a wave returning to the ocean. If you've aligned with love throughout your life, if you've allowed it to flow through you rather than constantly resisting it, death becomes like coming home after a long journey. There's no external judgment waiting, no cosmic court tallying your sins. There's only self-judgment, the experience of recognizing the gap between the love you were capable of expressing and the love you actually allowed through. But you don't have to wait for death to apply this understanding. The practical daily application is where this entire framework either becomes transformative or remains just another interesting idea. When you face problems tomorrow morning, when challenges arise in your work or relationships or health, shift the question you're asking. Instead of, how do I solve this? Start asking, where is love blocked here? That single shift in mindset changes everything about your approach and opens pathways you couldn't see from the problem-solving mentality. When you experience conflict with another person, pause and remember there's only one of you there. The person you're fighting is yourself in another costume, another aspect of the same consciousness playing a different role. How does that reframe the entire situation? What changes in your response when you truly recognize this? When you feel isolated, lonely, separate from everything around you, remember that separation is literally impossible in a universe made of one substance. You can feel separate, you can believe you're separate, you can act from that belief, but the underlying truth remains unchanged. Comment below saying, "Love is my compass," if you're ready to start using this as your primary navigation system through daily life, because what we're exploring next reveals the power dynamics that most people completely miss. Now, let's shatter one of the most damaging misconceptions about love that keeps people trapped in weakness and ineffectiveness. Somewhere along the line, culture taught us that love is soft, passive, powerless. That choosing love means being a doormat, surrendering your strength, accepting mistreatment. This couldn't be further from the truth operating beneath reality. Love isn't weak. Love is the most powerful force in existence. Period. This is the force that created galaxies spinning through space, that holds atoms together against forces that should rip them apart, that drives evolution forward across billions of years, that conquers even death itself. When you align with love, when you stop resisting it and start flowing with it, you're aligning with the force that literally runs the universe. You're tapping into the same energy that transforms stars, grows forests, heals wounds, creates new life. Miracles stop being rare exceptions and become natural occurrences because you're finally operating according to the fundamental law instead of constantly violating it. This is where your true power lives, not in control or manipulation or force, but in alignment with what's already infinitely powerful. And here's what makes this even more extraordinary. Science is beginning to catch up with what Jung discovered through direct experience decades ago. Quantum entanglement demonstrates that particles remain connected across infinite distance, instantly affecting each other regardless of the space between them. That's love's cohesion, operating at the subatomic level. The observer effect proves that consciousness doesn't just passively witness matter, it actively affects it, shapes it, influences it. Studies on focused intention have shown that directed love can alter DNA sequences, can heal disease at a distance, can change outcomes in ways that shouldn't be possible according to the old materialistic framework. Love is the unified field theory that physicists have been desperately seeking, the force that reconciles quantum mechanics with relativity, the answer hiding in plain sight. But ultimately, this all comes back to one central revelation that changes everything about how you experience your existence. You're not separate from love, searching for it out there somewhere, trying to earn it or deserve it or finally achieve it. You are love. Right now. Already. Always have been. Your love temporarily experiencing the illusion of being something else, playing this cosmic game of forgetting and remembering, hiding and seeking. Your journey isn't toward love as some distant destination. It's the recognition that you never actually left it. You're not a human having occasional spiritual experiences. You're love itself having a human experience, consciousness exploring what it feels like to be you. And here's the therapeutic truth that heals. Your pain, all of it, is proportional to your resistance to being what you actually are. Every wound you carry can heal the moment you allow love to flow again through those blocked places. Type in the comments, "I remember now," if you're feeling this truth awakening inside you, because what comes next reveals why this changes everything about the future unfolding before us. Now, if you've made it this far with me, you know this isn't just another video about spirituality or self-help. This is about recognizing the fundamental operating system of reality itself, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Everything changes. The way you approach your day, your relationships, your challenges, your entire existence shifts when you understand that love isn't something you chase, but something you are. I create content like this because I believe there are people out there ready for these deeper truths, ready to move beyond surface-level thinking and into genuine transformation. If that's you, if this resonated somewhere deep inside, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. This is where we explore these profound insights that most places won't touch, where we go beneath the noise to find what actually matters. And leave a comment saying, "This message was meant for me, so I know you were here, so I know this landed where it needed to land." Your presence matters. The fact that you stayed through this entire journey tells me something about who you are and what you're seeking. If this shifted something in you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach others who need to hear it, who are searching for the same truth you just discovered. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper into practical application. Click and continue with me over there, because the journey doesn't end here. There's always another layer, another revelation, another doorway opening. I'll see you in the next one.